The Philippines has no cases of coronavirus reinfection, says the Health Department. The national government targets to open 78 COVID-19 laboratories across the country. Overseas Filipino workers prioritize in tomorrow's opening of the mega swabbing center in Palacio de Maynila. Classes for school year 2020 to 2021 to open on August 24, says the Education Department. Trial of contact tracing app in the United Kingdom pilots on Isle of Wight. Nightly lights out in St. Petersburg, a cost-saving measure amid lockdown in Russia.
The Department of Health highlights that there are no cases of reinfection in the Philippines. Even what happened to Senator Sonny Angara after testing positive and then yielding negative test results and then positive again does not mean it's a reinfection. Aiko Miguel explains why.
Among the more than 1,000 COVID-19 recoveries in the country, not one is experiencing reinfection. According to the country's Department of Health, reports of the so-called second wave of infection in other countries are caused by remnants of the new coronavirus and not because of reinfection. Here in the Philippines, based on the protocol, a COVID-19 survivor still has to undergo a 14-day quarantine after discharge from the health facility. After the 14th day, the survivor must undergo another test through an RT-PCR testing. This time, another negative result must come out.
Hindi naman talaga nag-test ng RT-PCR bago lumabas ng ospital, tapos nagpa-test after 14 days. Tapos after nung 14th day, ito yung mga nangyayari sa atin dito, nagpa-positive ang resulta. So ito ay wala naman siyang pinagmulan na negative. So we cannot say that the patient has been reinfected.
The DOH explains that what happened to Senator Sonny Angara is not reinfection. It was just traced from the specimen collected from him when he donated his blood for convalescent plasma therapy that he still has remnants of the virus based on the test results.
So kung halimbawa nagpapagbigay ka ng dugo na ikaw ay positibo katulad niyan, no? Unang-una ang sinabi, remnants ng virus might not be infectious, and the second, wala pang nabibigay na ebidensya na it can be transmitted through this transfusion of blood or through blood product. So wala tayong dapat ikabahala sa ngayon.
The health official also notes there is no clear evidence yet that the plasma of a COVID-19 survivor can harm or will have adverse effects on the COVID-19 patients. But a donor should still be checked if they are totally COVID-19 free before donating blood for convalescent plasma therapy. COVID-19 survivors, although they have developed antibodies to fight the virus, they are not totally safe from contracting the disease again, especially if they are complacent or often exposed to active COVID-19 cases. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
At the moment, 22 COVID-19 testing centers are operating in the country. Now, the Philippine government targets to open 78 COVID-19 laboratories. Rosalie Cos explains why.
To attain the target of 30,000 COVID-19 tests per day on May 30, the government is intensifying its efforts to accredit additional testing laboratories across the country. According to Vince Dicen, Basis Conversion and Development Authority President and Deputy Chief Implementer of the National Policy Against Coronavirus Disease, the government is targeting to open 78 laboratories through a partnership between the private and public sectors.
Naniniwala po tayo na kung ma-activate natin ang labs na to, magkakaroon na po tayo ng capacity to test 30,000 per day by May 30.
The government currently has 5,000 average daily tests. The immediate concern is to swab and test the thousands of overseas Filipino workers and overseas Filipinos that have recently returned to the Philippines and being quarantined in various quarantine facilities. To address the necessary manpower for the COVID-19 laboratories, the government also intensifies its call for medical professionals and students as well as other government personnel to help in the efforts for massive testing.
Nagtawag na po tayo in fact sa ating mga universities para ihid ang call para sa mga swabbers at iba pong mga magbo-volunteer para po tulungan tayo dito sa ating napakalaking operation sa testing.
The government is also preparing the necessary equipment and facilities such as testing booths and personal protective equipment for the frontliners. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Overseas Filipino workers will be prioritized in tomorrow's opening of the mega swabbing center in the city of Manila. Asher Cadapan Jr. details why.
One of the 4 swabbing centers located in Palacio de Maynila along Rojas Boulevard in Manila is set to start its operation tomorrow. Overseas Filipino workers stranded in Metro Manila due to the ECQ will be prioritized in the mass testing in Palacio de Maynila, according to National Action Plan Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. OFWs whose test result will yield negative in the COVID-19 test will be allowed to go home to their families but will still have to undergo a 14-day home quarantine.
Initially, we will test more or less 24,340 OFWs that have been here in Metro Manila. The purpose of this mega swabbing sites is to decongest Metro Manila with the standard OFWs.
The Philippine Coast Guard, including their trained medical technologists, were tasked to manage and operate this mega swabbing center in Manila, which houses 65 test booths. Authorities expect the other 3 mega swabbing centers to open in the following days.
Enduran will be ready by Thursday. MOA Arena sa SM by Friday or Saturday siguro. And then last yung Philippine Arena. Yung Philippine Arena matagal kasi ng konti dahil gagawa pa tayo ng ganitong tent. Hindi yung meron na.
Health Secretary Francisco Duque III explains the country sees a ramp-up in its testing capacity through these swabbing centers to open. Secretary Duque, however, highlights the importance of observing strict quarantine measures.
Testing is a cornerstone of the national COVID response. But may I also stress the importance of quarantine.
Asher Cadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, students and parents alike are expecting a new normal in classes. They may expect that beginning August. Teachers will undergo retraining, says the Education Department. Joanne Nano tells us why.
Upon the recommendation of the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, the country's Department of Education has decided to open the school year 2020 to 2021 on August 24th. This covers both elementary and secondary levels in public and private schools. DepEd explains classes will resume without requiring all the students and teachers to come to school physically. And this is new normal guidelines. According to DepEd Secretary Leonor Briones, the Education Department is coming up with various mechanisms for the new teaching and learning methods. Aside from online classes, they will also provide digital or manual materials for students who have no internet access.
Mayroon namang tinatawag na flexible learning options. Pwedeng may mga schools na handa na daw sila na magbukas ng online, public o private ng kanilang school lessons. Maraming through the cellphone, pwede din sa television at saka sa radio.
The school enrollment will happen from June 1 to 30. All teachers are instructed to report in their respective schools, whether physically or online. During enrollment, parents will be asked to fill out a form to indicate either the availability or absence of computer, iPod, cell phones, or other communication options. It is for the DepEd to identify the mode of teaching to be used with students. Teachers are required to undergo retraining according to DepEd since there will be an adjustments in the school curriculum.
Mayroon tayong mga platform na more than 5 million na ngayon ang nagsusubscribe. Itong tinatawag na DepEd Commons. At saka may mga bagong programa din tayo para sa mga bata so they can learn while in school with the guidance of their parents.
Despite the reopening of classes, massive gatherings in schools are still prohibited. This include the Palarong Pambansa, Brigada Eskwela, campus journalism, science and trade fairs, and other school assemblies or gatherings. Joanne Nano, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The so-called flattening of the curve of the coronavirus disease 2019 in the country is more evident in the National Capital Region, says an expert. But despite slower doubling time of cases, the country's health department recommends gradual lifting of coronavirus measures. Aiko Miguel details why.
An epidemiologist who is also a part of the IATF EID Subtechnical Working Group, Dr. John Huang, said in a virtual briefing this morning that the doubling time of COVID-19 cases in the country is slowing down to 3 to 4 days. This report is based on the cases recorded 14 days ago. According to Dr. Huang, in the coming days, it is possible that the doubling time of cases may occur after a week.
When April 1 came around, you see that the curve started to flatten. So from doubling every less than 3 days now it's doubling around 4 days. That has been flattening at a more dramatic rate. Now it's very near the 7-day line.
The ECQ in Luzon is buying time for the national government to prepare the country's health system. Part of this is setting up community quarantine facilities, purchase of additional ventilators, intensive care beds or intensive care unit beds, and personal protective equipment for medical frontliners. Experts explain that 25% of the total number of ventilators are being utilized, while there are 75% reserved ventilators. 40% of ICU beds are being utilized, while 60% are reserved capacity of ICU beds. Although facilities are not yet totally overwhelmed at this point, they may reach their full capacity once the country reaches the 30,000 daily testing capacity. According to Undersecretary Vergere, there are 8,000 specimen backlogs in laboratories, but there is a good indication that what we have in the Philippines is just a 10% positivity rate.
Kung sabihin mong 8,000 ang backlog natin sa laboratorio, 10% of these 8,000 would turn out positive, and that's 800.
Meanwhile, the slowdown of doubling time of cases and the preparedness of the country's health system are factors which experts can use as basis for recommending the lifting of ECQ on May 15. But according to Undersecretary Vergere, loosening such measures must be done gradually and that GCQ should still be implemented.
The moment that we lift our restrictions, there would be a resurgence. So kailangan lang talaga na itutuloy natin into that new normal.
Until scientists discover a COVID-19 vaccine in 18 to 24 months' time, Filipinos should observe and live the new normal way according to health authorities. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
As coronavirus measures are eased in some countries, there is a risk of a second wave of infection, according to health authorities. But how long should quarantine measures be implemented by governments? Find out as Mon Hokson reports.
There are some countries gradually easing measures designed to slow the transmission of COVID-19. However, there is the risk of a second wave of infection. According to the World Health Organization, second wave is the mounting in COVID-19 cases after recording slower transmission of the disease or lower number of cases after a certain period of time. Singapore is one of the countries who experienced a second wave of COVID-19 infections. It was January when Singapore implemented enhanced community quarantine. With strict implementation of such measure, Singapore was able to control the virus. But after 2 months, Singapore saw a spike in COVID-19 cases. In fact, in just 1 day, the Health Ministry recorded 70 new cases. This is the reason why Singapore implemented a partial lockdown or a circuit breaker from April 7 to May 4. Hong Kong was praised for effective measures to contain the spread of the disease. On February 5, Hong Kong closed all its border points. Establishments were shut. Social distancing was strictly implemented. Hong Kong recorded more than 100 cases only, but when it started to ease quarantine and social distancing measures, the number increased on the first day of April. This also happened in Taiwan and some other countries with a second wave of infection. Every time authorities ease quarantine and social distancing measures, cases begin to increase.
Second wave, as Mike said, is in our hands. If we implement the right intervention, we can prevent it from happening. But when we do this, not just the national interventions, having the regional and also coherence in the global interventions and global solidarity is very important.
But we must understand Hong Kong, Singapore, and Taiwan are ahead compared with other countries. These three have less populations and smaller land areas. The geographical locations of Taiwan and Singapore are also an advantage. SARS, which hit these countries, also helped them in preparing for the coronavirus disease 2019. And most especially, they have extensive mass testing and contact tracing done. But does this mean they have won the fight against COVID-19?
We continue to urge countries to find, isolate, test, and treat all cases and trace every contact to ensure these declining trends continue. But the pandemic is far from over. I repeat, the pandemic is far from over.
Mon Hokson, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And now let's take a peek at the updated tally of the coronavirus cases around the world. The COVID-19 pandemic has reached a total of 3,598,324 confirmed cases in 187 countries, regions, and sovereignty. The fast-spreading disease has also claimed lives with 166,768 recovered patients across the world. The United States of America now has more than 1,180,000 confirmed cases and the highest death toll of almost 69,000. Spain and Italy trails behind with more than 200,000 cases, followed by the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Turkey, Russia, Brazil, all still with more than 100,000 positive cases. Some of these countries have eased their coronavirus measures. Iran has recorded 98,647 cases, while China has almost 84,000 reported positives. Canada, which is still part of the top 12 worst-hit countries, has nearly 62,000 red cases. Meanwhile, the Philippines Health Department reports that as of 4 p.m. today, the country now has a total of 9,684 confirmed COVID-19 cases, of which 199 are new. Death toll stands at 637 as we have recorded 14 more patients who succumbed to the killer virus. Meantime, with the help of our gallant medical frontliners, 93 more patients have recovered from the disease, bringing the country's total recoveries to 1,408. The Supreme Court has issued Administrative Circular Number 39/2020, which orders the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, or BJMP, as well as the Bureau of Corrections to decongest their jails amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The Interior Department, meanwhile, is in favor of such order. Leah Ilagan explains why.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, is in favor of the Supreme Court's order to decongest prisons in the country amid the COVID-19 pandemic. DILG Secretary Eduardo Año says the decision of the higher court promotes social restorative justice and will lessen the burden of person deprived of liberty, or PDLs, as well as of the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology personnel. Secretary Año adds that based on the Supreme Court's directive, the sentence reclusion temporal, or 12 to 20 years imprisonment, will be lessened. On the other hand, prisoners facing a 6-month jail sentence will be freed based on what is called recognizance. The Interior Secretary further explains that inmates facing a court order and have tested positive for COVID-19 will be prioritized for release. The official notes that 4 of the 468 BJMP facilities nationwide have recorded 345 coronavirus cases all in all. Secretary Anyo clarifies that more than 3,000 PDLs are qualified to an early release. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine Congress is looking at addressing the various concerns of overseas Filipino workers over an increased PhilHealth premium. The lawmakers are planning to hold a joint hearing on the said matter. Vincent Arboleda has the details why.
The voluntary contribution of overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs, ordered by the President to PhilHealth is just a temporary measure as Filipinos face the COVID-19 crisis. But prolonging the measure even after the crisis may cause problems, according to 4th District of Quezon Representative Angelina Tan. Tan chairs the House Committee on Health and says that a joint oversight committee hearing will be called by the Senate and the House of Representatives to tackle the issue based on the President's order.
I think yung statement ni Presidente parang to guide ang Congress mag-act on the problem na kinakaharap natin ngayon.
The lady lawmaker explains they will also call for the presence of PhilHealth, DOLE, POEA and OWA during the joint hearing. The lawmaker believes that a solution that is fair not just for OFWs but also to all other contributing sectors should be made. The joint hearing will also look into the matter if there is a need to amend the Universal Healthcare Law or just its implementing rules and regulations.
Kung nasa implementing rules and regulation lang, IRR, anytime they can amend the IRR, the DOH and PhilHealth, kasi sila naman ang task. They were tasked to do the implementing rules and regulation.
It can be recalled that the President ordered PhilHealth to not make mandatory the collection of the 3% of monthly salary of OFWs as PhilHealth premiums after thousands of OFWs protested. According to Tan, they are planning to convene the joint hearing before this week ends. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, Senate adopts a resolution urging the national government to formulate a program to decongest Metro Manila and assist Filipinos who would like to go back to their provinces for good after the COVID-19 pandemic. Mirasol Abogadil reports why.
For almost 2 months, this small variety store of 71-year-old Carlito de Terra in Sampaloc, Manila has been closed due to the COVID-19 crisis. According to him, he and his wife are thinking of going back to Bicol should they fail to revive their business after the quarantine.
Kasi mahina na, walang mga trabaho eh.
De Terra is one of the Filipinos who are hopeful of getting support once they decided to return to their provinces under the proposed Balik Probinsya program. Yesterday, the Senate adopted Resolution number 380 urging the Executive Department to formulate and implement a Balik Probinsya program in a bid to decongest Metro Manila and boost regional development by improving the quality of life and social services in the provinces, especially in rural areas. According to Senator Christopher Bongo, who sponsored the resolution, this will be done by helping stranded workers and OFWs, assisting people who want to relocate to the provinces, and encouraging Filipinos, including informal settlers and those living in danger zones, to settle down in the provinces for good.
Isa rin po sa mga dahilan kaya maraming hindi nakakatanggap ng mga social amelioration dahil yung iba po ay nandun sa probinsya, yung kanilang mga pamilya, ay nagtatrabaho sila rito. Ang dami po mga stranded na mga workers na napapabayaan lang po dyan sa construction site nila.
The senator adds the program also aims to prepare the country in responding to crisis, noting that overcrowding in the national capital region makes it more difficult to contain the disease, putting Filipinos at risk for future pandemics. Go cited that nearly 7 out of 10 Filipinos who are infected by COVID-19 are found in the nation's capital. The resolution also calls on to various government agencies to satisfy the immediate needs of the beneficiaries of the program, including improvement of agricultural productivity, basic education facilities, and healthcare systems, creation of jobs and training support for micro, small, and medium enterprises, and resettlement assistance. Mirasol Abugadil, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Senate President Vicente Soto III announced today that one of the 18 Senate personnel who tested positive in rapid COVID-19 test yesterday has tested negative in the swab test. Soto says the employee is a staff of Senator Richard Gordon, who underwent swabbing administered by the Philippine Red Cross. The 17 others sent to various hospitals are still waiting for their RT-PCR test results to confirm the rapid test results. Soto adds the Senate will shoulder the costs of the swab tests. The Senate President also encourages the families of the employees to undergo rapid antibody testing. Earlier, Senator Panfilo Lacson said they are conducting contact tracing of the employees' families to undergo rapid tests for free.
President Rodrigo Duterte offers a reward for tipsters on barangay and local government officials who steal the cash assistance from beneficiaries. Rosalie Cos details why.
President Rodrigo Duterte is willing to give 30,000 pesos as a reward to persons who can provide details and evidence against corrupt government officials who steal aid from the beneficiaries of the Social Amelioration Program. The president announced the directive after the arrest of a barangay councilor in San Agustin, Hagonoy, Bulacan, who pocketed 3,500 pesos from the Social Amelioration.
Sa lahat po na magre-report ng mga local officials na kumakana o kinukurakot ang mga ayuda para po sa mga mahihirap. Tumawag lang po kayo sa 8888.
It was President Duterte himself who revealed the allegedly corrupt barangay official and reminded local government officials to keep track of individuals who distribute the Social Amelioration Program cash aid within their jurisdictions.
Ang mga mayors naman, kindly look into the people that you have commissioned to do the distribution sa pera. Kagaya nitong Barangay Kagawad Danilo Flores ng Agustin, Hagonoy, Bulacan. Nakuha ka pa ng television na may ano doon, Grab, it's not Grab, it's actually a nakuha ka na hinihingi mo. Mahirap na nga, ikaw may trabaho ka na, kagawad ka, kunin mo pa yung pera ng mahirap.
The chief executive also reiterated his warning to all government personnel not to practice corruption under his term. Rosalie Cos, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
In case a local government fails to finish the distribution of cash aid under the national government Social Amelioration Program, a request for extension may be filed. Nonetheless, the target is to finish the SAP distribution before the deadline to move forward to another round of assistance. Joanano explains why.
2 days left before the May 7 deadline of the first tranche of SAF cash aid distribution. Governments in some parts of Metro Manila are working double time. But according to the DSWD National Capital Region Office, cities with a huge population such as Quezon City may apply for an extension. In an interview with DSWD NCR Regional Director Vic Tomas in the program Get It Straight with Daniel Razon, the official explained that local government units should speed up the distribution of the first batch of SAP to be able to move forward to the second tranche. But LGU should submit first the complete liquidation of the first batch before proceeding with the second tranche of SAP issuance.
Magiging batayan po yung pagbibigay ng second tranche
sa pag-liquidate nung pong mga pondong naibahagi po sa ating mga qualified beneficiaries.
According to the DSWD NCR, the verification of about 1.3 million families who have been left out is a big challenge for them. Director Tomas explains a thorough cross-matching must be done to ascertain those households are indeed qualified beneficiaries. The DSWD NCR has increased its manpower to fast-track the processing of SAP distribution. The department needs to finish the giving out of second tranche of SAP by May 15. In case the SAP distribution is not completed until the lifting of the ECQ, it is up to the IATF to decide whether to consider another extension for the distribution, the DSWD further says. Meanwhile, households who are not qualified for SAP may expect other cash assistance and livelihood programs offered in general community quarantine areas. Joanna, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Caloocan City government is hoping to meet the deadline of distribution of Social Amelioration Program subsidy to qualified beneficiaries. Today, residents in Barangay Bagong Silang, Caloocan, went to a distribution venue, but some were not able to claim the cash aid. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The city government of Caloocan has distributed 82% of the cash aid allocated to the city under the national government's Social Amelioration Program or SAP. Caloocan has 216,000 families who are qualified SAP beneficiaries. It is one of the cities in Metro Manila that received the highest amount of SAP cash assistance and the highest distribution rate so far. The city government is expecting to complete the SAP distribution before the May 7 deadline, according to Obet Quizon, an officer in the City Social Welfare Action Center.
Simula nung ibinaba sa amin yung guidelines, yung mandate kung paano, nag-ayos na kami, nag-ready na ang Caloocan.
Metro Manila's largest barangay, Barangay Bagong Silang, is also under the jurisdiction of the Caloocan City Government. Barangay Bagong Silang has 33,000 families who are SAP beneficiaries. Quezon reminds Bagong Silang residents not to proceed to SAP distribution venues without the verification from the LGU because there is no way they will receive anything, such as the case in Gabriela Silang Elementary School earlier today. The city government also wants to ensure that strict physical distancing protocol is observed, thus it is implementing a schedule of barangays to receive SAP aid. Meanwhile, for recipients who are not able to find their names on list of beneficiaries in the barangay, Quezon advises they should proceed to City Hall.
Pagka naman kasi na-advise sila na nandun, definitely i-inform din sila ng barangay kung saan at anong oras nila mapupuntahan yung ayuda nila. If ever come to a point na meron talagang gano'n na sinasabi ninyo na hindi makita yung pangalan, so office namin makipag-ugnayan.
Residents who have concerns may approach City Social Welfare Action personnel at the main City Hall in Caloocan South or at the City Hall Annex building in Caloocan North. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The trial of a contact tracing app in the United Kingdom is part of the government's test, track, and trace approach. But the trial will pilot on the island of Wight. Jovic Permas explains why.
Britain looks at how to minimize the risk of a second wave of the new coronavirus infection. Suffering one of the worst death tolls in Europe from COVID-19, Britain is confident that the peak of the virus has passed and is now looking at how to restart its shuttered economy and ease social restrictions on citizens. Cabinet Minister Michael Gove said on Sunday a new coronavirus tracing program will be trialed this week on the Isle of Wight, just off the south coast of England. A mass testing system, along with the ability to trace people who have been in contact with those who test positive, are seen as crucial to preventing a second spike and facilitating the relaxation of a lockdown which has lasted almost 6 weeks. Amid concerns of data privacy, the smartphone app will be completely confidential with data seen by NHS staff only. However, it is not yet available for download at the moment, but officials here are expected to announce more later. The app made by NHSX is seen to form a crucial element of the trace phase of moving the country out of lockdown, by helping to establish the networks of people which surround each person who gets diagnosed with the virus. Experts say around half the British population should use the app if it's to be effective, some 35 million people. Downloading and using the smartphone app to be made available in 2 to 3 weeks' time will be voluntary, but officials hope a huge number of Britons will be persuaded to take part in the program in the hope of lifting coronavirus restrictions. Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Amid a battered tourism economy, architectural structures in Russia's second largest city will go off nightly. Miguel Rey de Leon details why.
In St. Petersburg, Russia, the brightest city lights will go off every night at some 500 sites. The move is part of the belt-tightening measures to cope with the impact of the coronavirus in Russia's second largest city. Lensvet, an energy company that provides external illumination to architectural structures in the country, said the move to turn off the lights after 11 p.m. local time each night could save the city some 13.6 million rubles, or around $180,268 US. The measures will remain in place until at least August.
This decision is related to the spread of the novel coronavirus, with limited tourist flow and with the majority of citizens staying at home.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered the nationwide lockdown to remain in place until May 11. The transcontinental country, located in Eastern Europe and Northern Asia, places 7th among the countries worst hit by the coronavirus pandemic, with over 140,000 confirmed COVID-19 cases. Miguel Rey de Leon, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The National Telecommunication Commission, or NTC, issued a cease and desist order against ABS-CBN. Just minutes ago, the media network signed off. Rosalie Cos has more details on this report live. Yes, Rosalie, go ahead.
Good evening, Diego. Through an order dated today, May 5, 2020, the National Telecommunications Commission, or NTC, has directed ABS-CBN to stop operating its various television and broadcasting stations nationwide. This after the legislative franchise of ABS-CBN Broadcasting Corporation expired yesterday, May 4, according to the NTC order. The broadcasting company is also directed to show cause in writing within 10 days why the assigned frequencies to its radio and television stations should not be recalled for lack of the necessary congressional franchise as required by law. NTC adds, upon the expiration of Republic Act No. 7966, ABS-CBN has no valid and subsisting congressional franchise as required by radio control law. The NTC regional offices will implement the closure order in their respective areas of jurisdictions. Meanwhile, in a statement, ABS-CBN says they will go off-air on TV and radio starting tonight in compliance with the cease and desist order issued by the NTC. Diego, meanwhile, Malacanang left the network's fate to the both houses of Congress. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque reiterates to public that broadcast franchises are within the authority of the Congress. That's the latest. Back to you, Diego.
Yes, Rosalie, I just have a couple of clarificatory questions. Prior to this cease and desist order by the NTC received, to my knowledge, 3 very strong opinions. One from Congress, citing that they should give a provisional permit to operate. Number 2, they received the one from DOJ Secretary, citing, as clarified by the Secretary a while ago, that he gave advice for them to be given also a provisional operate. And the third advice came from the Solgen, issuing a stern warning to the NTC if they should do so. Did the NTC clarify why they took heed over the advice of the Solgen rather instead of listening to the Secretary of Justice and to the House of Congress?
Well, based on the statement of the National Telecommunications Commission, or NTC, they are just following the regulations when it comes to the legislative franchise issued to the ABS-CBN Corporation, in which ABS-CBN's franchise expired yesterday, or May 4, yeah, that's yesterday.
Yes, okay. So I guess, Rosalie, we expect ABS-CBN to file the necessary TRO at the RTC in the coming days.
Yes.
All right, keep us updated, Rosalie Cos. Thank you for your report. That's Rosalie Cos reporting live from Quezon City. Meanwhile, in front of the ABS-CBN compound in Mother Ignacia, Quezon City, candles are lit as employees express their sadness over the shutdown of their network tonight. Arlene Delgado is right there in Mother Ignacia for more details. Yes, Arlene, go ahead.
Jego, we are here in front of the ABS-CBN compound along Esguerra Avenue here in Quezon City. And as you can see behind me, colors of the network logo are flashed on the facade of the network as they officially signed off tonight following the order from the National Telecommunications Commission. Jego, station cars are coming in and out of the compound. Bulk of employees have yet to go out, but we were able to talk to some of them. One of them is Annabel Montenegro, who works as a graphic designer in the station's News and Current Affairs department for 20 years. She says she feels really sad, but adds she still believes in the network despite what happened and still hopeful that they could go on air soon. We were also able to talk to some cameramen and said all they can do now is wait. Some candles, Jego, were also lit in front of the compound by some organizations expressing their opposition on the cease and desist order of the National Telecommunications Commission. Jego, earlier, senators during their hybrid session expressed their regrets as well and opposition on the said order. Jego, as of the moment, we are still waiting here outside the ABS-CBN compound for some of the employees and the management as well for interviews and to know what are their plans on the coming days. And that's the latest here in Quezon City. Back to you, Jego.
Yes, Harley, in absence of an official statement with regard to the next step of ABS-CBN, have you heard if they will file a TRO with the RTC, Court of Appeals, or the Supreme Court, or will they wait for Congress to hear their petition to renew their franchise?
Jego, as of now, we are still yet to verify and get the official statement from the ABS-CBN Corporation on their next steps following their signing off tonight. But just to share, Jego, earlier some senators are urging the House of Representatives to really speed up their hearings and tackle this congressional franchise of the ABS-CBN so that this issue can be resolved. Jego?
Yes, just one more question, Harleen. I'd just like to clarify if the ABS-CBN News Network, or ANC, is part of the cease and desist order of the NTC, because ANC is a cable channel which does not require a UHF bandwidth, whereas ABS-CBN operates under the bandwidth of Channel 2, which requires a permit. So have you heard, will ANC stay on air?
Jego, we're still verifying if the ANC will still go on air, but as we speak, Jego, the Channel 2 free air station has officially signed off, and we were, according to some employees that we were able to talk to earlier, Jego, the instruction to them is still to come to work tomorrow because they will do some tapings for their other platforms that are not included in the scope of the cease and desist order. Jego?
Okay, just to clarify, Harleen, in other words, they will continue, most of the employees will continue to have work for the meantime.
Yes, Jago. As so far, the employees that we were able to talk to, Jago, are those from the Integrated News and Current Affairs Department. We're still verifying, Jago, on the other departments of ABS-CBN. But so far, Jago, from the interviews that we got, some of the employees of ABS-CBN News and Current Affairs are still going to work tomorrow. Jago?
Okay, thank you for your report, Harley Delgado. That's Harleen Delgado reporting live from Quezon City. You know, Will, this year, 2020, is truly an eventful one. In my 43 years of existence, we've seen bushfires in Australia. We've now come face to face with a deadly virus and a shutdown and a quarantine, and now a closure of a large TV network.
Yes, and also earlier in the year, the eruption of the Taal volcano. So all compressed within this year. So a lot of unexpected things have happened.
But your gut, we were talking a while ago, and we said that it looks like this will be resolved sooner than later.
Yes, remember, as long as there are no violations, as long as all the documents are proper, taxes have been paid, I mean, it's really just a matter of time, I think.
Yeah.
It's like everything else, everything is a process. And
Anyway,
we have to be
based on the last hearings, Will, everything was in order. The only difference was, I think Congress had to discuss a lot of other pertinent bills before they can tackle this issue. So we hope to see a resolution in our midst very soon.
And also, we hope that the COVID-19 pandemic, which has affected the whole world, will also taper off. We really didn't realize that it would affect us this much.
Yes, and we're, of course, nothing what we can do but pray to God and hope for the best.
Yes, of course.
Our kasambahay, we are at a time when the country is under a state of health emergency. The cooperation of all Filipinos is imperative to avoid the deadly virus. We are calling on everyone to be calm.
And most importantly, let us join together in prayer for our country and for the whole world to survive this crisis. You may join us in our daily UNTV community prayer at these hours as flashed on your screens. And those are the reasons behind the news. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And I'm Angelo Castro III, because we need to know. We will always ask why.